Education.
I'm Tom Harkin, and I'm running for president.
Presidential politics. The race is finally on as the Democrats' dark horses get out of the gate. In Yugoslavia, the largest military offensive of the Civil War yet. And the spiraling cost of a public college education. What happens if you can't pay and the government won't?
This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Garrick Utley. Substituting tonight, Mary Alice Williams in Washington.
Good evening. Will the presidential campaign never end? This time 4 years ago, Americans were asking that question. This year, everyone's asking when it'll begin. Today, it did. The Democratic National Committee is meeting in Los Angeles to devise a strategy for taking on the most popular president in the history of popularity polls and to meet the risk takers willing to make the race, long shots all. Lisa Myers has been watching them and joins us now. Good evening, Lisa.
Good evening, Mary Alice. The mood among Democrats is relief. Relief that they finally have candidates, even if they're not the first string, and relief that the campaign against George Bush finally can begin.
The next president of the United States, Governor Bill Clinton.
For the candidates, the DNC meeting is the political equivalent of a coming-out party. Unknown to most of America, some also are little known within their party. Still, Democrats seem ready to make the best of what they have.
It's time that we get our chins up off our chests and start looking forward to what we can do.
Some suggested that running a bunch of unknowns might even be good.
Because we've got a set of candidates who have little to lose, which means they're willing to take risks, and maybe they'll even talk about the truth to the American people.
The Democrats have made progress in the last few months. They agree that their message should be aimed at middle-class voters, that Bush is vulnerable on domestic issues, and that they're up for a fight. But there the consensus ends. Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa features unremittingly personal attacks on Bush.
George Herbert Walker Bush has got feet of clay, and I'm going to take a hammer to those feet in the next year.
Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton says personal attacks on a popular president are a mistake, that Democrats must emphasize real solutions to real problems.
We have to control health care costs, improve quality, take care of long-term care, do more in preventive care, maintain consumer choice, and cover everybody. And believe it or not, we can do it for less than we're spending if we have the courage.
Senator Bob Kerrey of Nebraska, who didn't attend today, promises national health insurance for all Americans.
I don't want any American to go to a welfare office to get health care.
Other candidates challenge the party's liberal economic dogma.
The private sector is where the growth is going to come from. No goose, no golden eggs.
We must cut tens of billions in federal spending that we cannot afford.
Although just about everyone is running as an outsider, none more than former California Governor Jerry Brown. His message, the entire political process is corrupt.
The insatiable appetite for campaign dollars has virtually turned the government into a stop and shop for every greedy and special interest in the country.
This election cycle will be less a marathon than a sprint. With the first primary only 5 months away, these candidates are facing the shortest preseason in modern political history, which means they can't afford many mistakes, Mary Alice.
Lisa, with no clear front runners in the field, do they all start out equal?
Well, some are more equal than others. The strongest candidates are Clinton and Kerry, although Harkin also belongs in the top tier. The Republicans like to dismiss Harkin as George McGovern with hair, but he has a lot of support among these Democratic interest groups who have a lot to say in the primary process. In the second group are the candidates who still have to prove they can even compete. Tsongas, who hasn't done much despite months of campaigning. Wilder, who properly describes himself as the longest of long shots. And finally, former Governor Brown of California. I spoke to a Democratic Party chairman last night, state party chairman, who said that Jerry Brown has as much chance of winning the nomination as he does of being elected Pope. And this man wasn't even a Catholic.
Well, what about Jesse Jackson? First, he's on the verge of taking himself out of the race, and then he makes noises about getting in.
Well, the read in Los Angeles is that Reverend Jackson is still more interested in preserving his power base than in running for election, but he's not yet ready to declare that he isn't going to run in '92.
All right, thank you, Lisa. And since the Democrats haven't yet a cohesive message or a spokesman to deliver it, George Bush has no one to respond to, nothing to campaign against. So this week he's been bringing up his own vulnerabilities to knock them down before the Democrats can fire a shot. Jamie Gangel joins us now from the White House. Good evening, Jamie.
Good evening, Mary Alice. That's just about right. President Bush, candidate Bush, has been out on the road, but even some Republicans are concerned that there is more style than substance.
George Bush spent the week campaigning using such backdrops as the Grand Canyon, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and a children's hospital.
Give him a high five. Yeah.
The White House insisted it was a trip of substance aimed at countering criticism Bush has neglected domestic issues. But why pick these settings? Across the board, reporters called it the perfect photo op.
Mr. Bush made a re-election campaign stop in Arizona today, framed around a photo opportunity.
And with every picture here, a potential campaign commercial.
The president's visit here had all the trappings of a campaign stop.
Despite his popularity and strength, even Republicans see Bush falling back on an old Ronald Reagan tactic, using images.
The president's doing the photo ops in order to draw attention to his domestic program. I don't think the photo ops are necessary at all. I think he'd be a lot better off just to roll up his shirt sleeves and go to work on the environment or health care or education the same way he's been working on Iraq and the Soviet Union.
I think what he's showing is his sensitivity to the charge, and that may only heighten the attention to what really is a lack of a domestic policy.
For the moment, with no big names among the Democrats and an almost 70% popularity rating, the White House is not worried. But as the field narrows and the public focuses, Republicans again see a vulnerability.
The greatest vulnerability for George Bush is the economy. If the economy were to go in the tank in the next few months, if we were to have a double-dip recession, then the Democrats could more easily make the charge that his domestic policy has been a failure and we need a new type of president, a domestic president, for the 1990s.
Despite all that, Mary Alice, this White House is very confident. Barring any surprises, this is George Bush's election to lose. Mary Alice?
Jamie, many Americans have long assumed the president could push the right buttons to turn the economy around. Is that basic assumption false?
Well, let's take a look at what's happened. The Federal Reserve has lowered interest rates, just what the White House wanted. Every week, the president's economic advisors declare that the recession is over. But the economy has not turned around yet, so that is a problem.
The election's more than a year off. How much time does the president really have?
These Republicans don't think that they have that long at all, maybe 3 or 4 months for the economy to turn around. If it doesn't, they see the Democrats pouncing hard on that issue, and then maybe the White House will have a close race. Mary Alice?
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie Gangel at the White House. And as we look at our world this day, we'll go to the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia, two nations in conflict in communism's wake. And we'll drive into Tokyo, where 95% of the parking spaces are illegal and the rest are elusive. And you thought you had problems?
Look what's popping up, fat free. Special K waffles from Eggo. Once you see how good fat free can be, whoa, no, you never let go.
No way. It's all mine.
Special K waffles from Eggo.
Eggo Special K waffles. Crisp, delicious, yet every bite fat-free, cholesterol-free, and just 80 calories per waffle. See how good fat-free can be.
Oh, no, you never let go. Nah. Special K waffles from Eggo.
It's a comfort to know more people have taken Sominex over the past 30 years than any other sleep aid. Safe, simple Sominex.
You know, there's nothing square about prunes. These Sunsweet pitted prunes are not only irresistibly sweet and bursting with flavor, they're also perfectly round. Only one prune tastes Sunsweet.
In Utah tonight, an extraordinary hostage standoff is still unfolding inside the maternity ward of a hospital. One person is already dead. Several others, including a number of newborn babies, are being held hostage. Doug Jardine of our Salt Lake City affiliate KUTV has more. He has been there since the standoff began. Doug?
Just before midnight, 39-year-old Richard Worthington stormed the emergency room at Altaview Hospital in Sandy, Utah. Several shots were fired. A 37-year-old nurse was hit and killed instantly.
There has been a confirmed fatality.
Worthington worked his way into the women's birthing center. He made no demands. He was allegedly trying to kill doctors who had performed surgery on his wife 2 years before. The doctors got out. Worthington took hostages, including a mother of 11 children.
She seemed to be scared for her life. He gave her some specific instructions to things to tell me. She said I needed to get here as quickly as possible, and that he wanted me to come in and talk to him.
Shots were fired into the women's center again at daybreak. Nobody was injured, and there was hope that after this window was broken, a woman hostage would be released. It didn't happen. Right now, at this hour, 9 people are still being held hostage, 6 adults and 3 children. Efforts are being made to get some infant formula up to those babies. As far as negotiations, they continue, but not much information is being exchanged. Mary Alice?
Thank you. Doug Giardini in Sandy, Utah. One other note from the home front tonight. A survey of teachers' salaries released today by the American Federation of Teachers shows they rose this year an average of 5%. That is the smallest increase in 18 years.
A cold always starts small. A stuffy nose, a little sneeze. But before you know it, your cold is full grown. That's when you need Dimetap, the grown-up medicine. If it was any stronger, you'd need a prescription. Maximum strength Dimetap Extend tabs work for 12 full hours. It's the way to relieve the congestion and sneezing of a full-grown cold. Dimetap, relief for the full-grown cold.
What does this woman know about dieting that maybe you don't? That you don't have to drink your breakfast, because a serving of Kellogg's Special K actually has fewer calories than a glass of the leading diet shake. In fact, the entire Special K breakfast, including fruit, skim milk, and coffee, has fewer calories than the diet shake. So, if you're going to have something special when you're trying to lose weight, shouldn't it be something special with fewer calories? Kellogg's Special K. Lose the fat.
It's the one, the only Red Lobster Fest. It's the only time each year when we serve up lobster a dozen luscious ways. Our most delicious lobster at our most delicious prices. But only now during this special event. It's the one, the only Red Lobster Fest, starting at $8.99.
Red Lobster for the seafood lover in you.
Now try lunch on Sunday. Most items $4.99 or less.
Unfocused tonight, a topic of concern to anyone with young children or grandchildren, or if you happen to be 18 or 19 years old, college costs, the squeeze on the middle class. At schools all over the country, tuition and fees are going still higher, but because of the recession, federal and state aid to students is not keeping pace. As a result, some kids who expected to go to college can't get there, and others can't stay. Jeff Madrick has been looking into this and joins us tonight from New York. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Mary Alice. Tuition has been rising twice as fast as inflation for a decade now. But what troubles educators most is the sharp rise in tuition, especially at public universities. The pride of America's higher education, because they enabled the middle class as well as the poor to get an education comparable to the best of private universities.
3 years ago, to establish her residence, 20-year-old Cassie Stern moved to Massachusetts so she could qualify for the low tuition charged by the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, among the most highly regarded public universities in the nation. But now, Cassie can only afford to attend college part-time.
Yet I'm only taking 3 classes a semester, and I'm looking for full-time employment.
Stung by cuts in aid from the state, UMass Amherst has raised tuition and fees dramatically, doubling in the 3 years Cassie has been there, from $2,500 to about $5,000 a year.
I don't know if I can really blame anybody. The whole country right now economically is in a downturn.
David Mello, also 20, had to drop out of UMass Amherst entirely, not only because tuition and fees rose, but also because the state cut back his student aid sharply.
I mean, I don't know how many years it'll take me to graduate now. It'll happen eventually, but I'm going to have to pay as I go.
He is now working full-time at a local ice cream parlor and hopes to re-enroll in school next year.
The old 4-year experience that many of us enjoyed is pretty much a thing of the past.
The state budget of Massachusetts has been hit especially hard by the recent recession, but other states across the nation have raised public university tuitions dramatically as well. Last year, for example, California raised its tuition by 40%. New York raised it by 30%, Oregon by more than 40%, Texas by 11%, New Jersey by 9%. And financial aid is declining in many states.
And so you have a growing gap between what the tuition is and what the student aid that somebody can receive is. There wouldn't be that much of a problem with high tuitions if aid was going up as well.
What is happening is that better-off students who once went to expensive private schools now go to the good public schools like UMass Amherst because finances are squeezed even for them. And they are now getting a bargain education.
Most of those seats are being taken up more and more by the upper middle-income students.
But that means the real middle class as well as the poor are getting shut out. And those who are trying to stay in have to struggle to do so.
My parents help me, or relatives help me when they can. It's usually in the form of care packages, lots of food, Oreos.
Mary Alice, Senator Bill Bradley has recently put forward a plan to subsidize loans to middle-class students as well as the poor. They would pay for them out of future earnings.
But, Jeff, Senator Bradley's bill presupposes the students will pay back their loans. The record for paying off past loans hasn't been very good.
Well, that's true, Mary Alice, and there are a lot of plans in Congress, I might note. But Bradley's plan has something a little bit extra. He would like to take those loans out of future earnings. It would be a payroll deduction scheme, so there would be virtually no bad loans.
Do we need federal aid here, or can this generation ride it out?
I think it would be a little premature to call this a crisis. I think most educators would not call it a crisis, at least not yet, but there's a big if out there. Now remember, the highest proportion of high school students ever are going to college. What we're questioning here is which colleges they are able to go to. They're going lower and lower down the totem pole. It's taking them longer to graduate, and some are starting to drop out. What if the economy doesn't bounce back? What if those state budgets don't improve, or the federal budget? If this is the beginning, not a big problem. If this is the end, not a big problem. If it's the beginning, it is a big problem.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Madrick in New York. And we'll have more news in a moment.
When I first saw Sarah on the library steps, I swear it skipped a beat. When Don Larson was one pitch away from a perfect game in the World Series, it stood perfectly still. On that awful day in '63, it felt like it was in the pit of my stomach. And that incredible moment when we all took one giant leap for mankind, it nearly burst with pride. But last year, when the doctors told me my heart was failing, and without a transplant I wouldn't last 6 months, that's when it stuck in my throat.
A year ago, the Prudential created the Living Needs Benefit. Now, the terminally ill could collect their death benefit while they were alive, and they could use it for anything their heart desired.
Now that I'm alive and well, I think of the donor. I think of his family, and naturally, my heart goes out to them.
For information, call 1-800-654-ROCK.
Does it take a major expedition to get something in your refrigerator? Would you say that finding things isn't exactly a piece of cake? You should explore Frigidaire Elite. Refrigerators so intelligently designed, they practically hand you what you're looking for. And are the most energy efficient we've ever built. After all, it's not just a fridge. It's a Frigidaire.
I don't want to marry him, Mom. Just date him.
My head.
He'll get a job.
Where's my Anacin?
For splitting headaches, Anacin works better than regular Bear or Bufferin. So take Anacin for splitting headaches.
You're going to love his earring.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
And now to Yugoslavia, where civil war today reached its most ferocious level yet. The Yugoslav army rejected the breakaway Republic of Croatia's offer to lift a blockade of army barracks in return for a ceasefire. and the Croatian city of Vukovar remains under siege. More from the BBC's Jeremy Bowen.
Croatian fighters retreating under sniper fire in Vinkovci, one of the Federal Army's main targets in eastern Croatia. The rejection of Croatia's offer of a ceasefire means the army's offensive in the Republic will continue. A track through a cornfield is the only route Croatians have left into Vukovar, their most exposed city, which the Federal Army is trying to encircle. The Croatians took us to Vukovar's front line in order, they said, to prove that reports of their imminent defeat are exaggerated and to show that their positions are holding. They're under steady mortar attack, but the federal reinforcements that have been sent into Croatia haven't been able to threaten Vukovar yet, according to the local Croatian commander.
None of them managed to get here. There is no chance.
He showed us the remains of an armored column, which lie in the no-man's land between the two front lines. It was destroyed, he said, in the last big attack on Monday. Since then, he said, they haven't faced a serious assault. There's no evidence that the Serbians or the federal forces have been able to hold much ground in Vukovar. There have certainly been many attacks and a great deal of damage has been done by both sides. But the Croatians still hold the city. More Croatians are getting killed and they face determined enemies who've yet to bring the full weight of their power to bear. Jeremy Bowen for NBC News, Vukovar.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin is in the southern Soviet Union tonight, trying to keep ethnic rivalries there from exploding into civil war. For 3 years now, two Soviet republics, Azerbaijan and Armenia, have been fighting over the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, and time to resolve the conflict may be running out. Jim Maseda has more.
Nagorno-Karabakh, only a little bigger than Rhode Island, but two Soviet republics, Armenia and Azerbaijan, are fighting over it. Two peoples, Christian Armenians and Muslim Azeris, say the land is theirs. Now, Nagorno-Karabakh's mostly Armenian population has declared its independence.
We are struggling for the creation of a free state under the control of Armenia.
For Azeris, that's a declaration of war.
For 1,000 years, Nagorno-Karabakh has been part of Azerbaijan. It's the heart and soul of Azerbaijan, and we will not allow it to be cut out.
After 4 years of escalating violence, Moscow has not resolved the conflict. Now the new power brokers, Russian President Boris Yeltsin and Kazakhstan President Nursultan Nazarbayev, are here to salvage negotiations and the new union, which could explode before it's even been named.
I'm throwing in my full political weight as a guarantee that both sides will be treated honestly and with neutrality.
But there is little neutral ground left. Starting with sticks and bricks, today both sides use the weapons of real war. Almost 1,000 deaths have been mourned, with thousands more homes and lives destroyed. Hundreds of thousands on both sides either fled the conflict or were deported by force. Now they are refugees in their own republics. Here in Baku, a flood of Azeri refugees turned a once thriving capital into a sprawling slough. Refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh live in the Kirov district. It already has the look and feel of a Palestinian camp.
We've been here 4 years and see no end in sight. How long can this go on?
Soviet troops ask the same question. But if the troops were pulled out, few doubt there would be all-out civil war. And with the spreading fever of nationalism in both Azerbaijan and Armenia, the time for compromise on Nagorno-Karabakh may have already passed. Jim Maseda, NBC News, Baku, Azerbaijan.
One other note from overseas. UN inspectors searching Iraq for biological weapons report tonight that they're going about their business without incident. Another UN team of nuclear inspectors is due in Baghdad tomorrow.
The spirit of the Olympic Games. It's about being the best you can be. They call him Iron Legs, and he wants to be the best at what he does. But Richard Lowe isn't an Olympic athlete. He's a letter carrier, whose route includes some of the cruelest hills in San Francisco. He climbs them every day, delivering up to 300 pounds of mail. The Postal Service has 750,000 workers like Richard Lowe, who are striving to make it the best there is. In that spirit, We're proud to sponsor the 1992 Olympic Games and share with you the quest to be the best.
We're Postal Service. We deliver for
you. Joanna.
Charles.
Theirs was a love affair. A love of butter stopped short by cholesterol.
I've dreamt of giving you this.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter is still the only spread flavored with real sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol to spoil the romance.
I never thought I'd be swept off my feet again.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. The taste you love without the cholesterol.
I swim, I jog. I love junk food. Sometimes even I get constipation.
When it happens to you, X-Lax pills give you a choice. Extra gentle for a little help, regular for a little more. X-Lax, for regular people who sometimes aren't.
In any major city, parking is the pits. Multiply your problems by the population of Tokyo, and you get as close as you'll come to the second circle of hell. Diana Karicki shows us how it works or doesn't.
Hard to tell, but Yoshiyuki Kobayashi is a car owner. Problem is, his house doesn't have a parking space. So he has to park his car 5 miles away and commute to it by bicycle.
It's really bad when it rains. Then I have to take the bus to get to the car.
All part of the hell of being a Tokyo driver. Despite the pain, the Japanese are in love with cars. Lots of people can't afford homes, but they can afford cars. In this city of 12 million people, 5 million cars are registered. The congestion is mind-boggling, and parking can be a nightmare. We decided to try an experiment. On a typical weekday morning, how long will it take to find a space? Police have banned parking on 95% of the streets in Tokyo, so the temptation to park illegally is huge. In fact, almost all the cars you see parked are parked illegally. But we're going to hold out for a legal space. The search begins. Meanwhile, across Tokyo, millions of drivers are sliding into illegal spaces. Some are so cavalier, they park right between no parking signs. Often they leave their hazard lights on to pretend they're not really parking. We don't want to try that yet. 15 minutes and counting. Here's a good reason to keep looking. Tokyo traffic cops are relentless, keeping tabs on how long cars stay in illegal spaces, calling in tow trucks for serious offenders, or handing out these dreaded orange parking tickets. The fines run from $70 to $1,400. But today we managed to avoid that fate by finding a legal space. Only took half an hour. The meter costs $2 an hour, with an alarm that goes off when it expires. It's also amazing what people here consider enough room for a car. Japanese are used to getting by with very little space, but it's hard to imagine squeezing any more cars into this city. Diana Karicki, NBC News, Tokyo.
See, you don't have it so bad. That's Nightly News. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Sunday Today. I'm Mary Alice Williams. For all the men and women of NBC, thank you. Good night.
Tonight, it's the Golden Girls season premiere. Find out if Blanche slept with Rose's husband. Then it's the premiere of The Torkelsons.
Coming up next on The Scene at 6, we'll show you the latest pictures of a Nashville man released this week by kidnappers in Turkey. The Shelby Street Bridge is rededicated in honor of Korean War veterans, and some familiar faces from Mayberry pay a visit to Nashville. There they are. Scene at 6 is next.
These stories and more news coming up next on The Scene at 6.
I'm Steve Harrison of Direct Insurance Company. I've been in the insurance business 18 years, and I found the only way I can save you money on your car insurance is to cut expenses. Why should you pay for local agents, expensive office buildings, and high salaries? Call Direct and save up to 50% on your car insurance with the lowest down payment available, monthly installments, and instant coverage. Call or come by Direct today. 1-800-444-4211.